Just healthy eating or orthorexia nervosa? In this video, I'm sharing 4 signs that you might be suffering from orthorexia. They're 4 things that I wish I'd known about sooner. Quick content warning, I will be discussing my experience with an eating disorder, so if you think that will be triggering for you, please watch another of my videos. I'm Lara, the food freedom psychologist, and I can help you create a healthy and happy relationship with food without guilt or stress eating. I hope you're enjoying my videos and getting so much value from them. If you are, hit the like button, subscribe to my content, and hit that bell to be notified so that you know every single time I post a new video. Side note here, if you are feeling overwhelmed and out of control around food, then watch my free Food Freedom Masterclass. It looks like this, and the details are in the links below. Before we dive in, I've got a question for you. Have you found yourself religiously following a healthy eating plan? A few years back, I wanted to get healthy after my pregnancies, and I decided that I didn't want to follow really restrictive diets because that had turned into a very negative relationship with food. If you want to hear about that story, then you can watch this video here where I share my experience with bulimia. So around this time, I wanted to get healthy, and this is where I discovered the wellness arena. It really sucked me in with this idea that in order to achieve optimum health, you needed to eat in a certain way. So I jumped on this clean eating bandwagon. I was also very convinced that I was doing this for the sake of my health and not for losing weight. I didn't realize it at the time, but this had me diving headfirst into a complete preoccupation with healthy eating, which then over time morphed into what I now know was orthorexia. So what actually is orthorexia? In really simple terms, it's an obsession with eating in a healthy way, but to the point where it starts to impact your mental health. And although orthorexia isn't yet officially recognised as an eating disorder, there's lots of health professionals that say that it should be. And having spent 2 to 3 years in its clutches, I can totally see how clean eating can be taken too far into what becomes an obsession. So what I want to do now is share 4 signs that your healthy eating might be morphing or might potentially morph into orthorexia. And these are things I wish I had known sooner than I did. So number 1 is unnecessary food restriction. I cut so much food from my diet. At one time, I was gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free. I was attempting to go vegan. And as you can imagine, there's not actually that much food left over than you can eat, apart from fruit and vegetables. And even fruit was demonized because of its sugar content. I didn't have any allergies or any sensible reasons to be cutting out this food. I was just following what the wellness influencers were saying. And so many foods were potentially allergenic or not good for this and not good for that. It was very all or nothing thinking. And really, there's no need to cut foods out of your diet unless you have a medical reason to do so. Number 2 was getting upset when the food rules were broken. I had so many food rules, and I would get really upset if I accidentally broke them, like if I ate something that had too much sugar in it, or I accidentally ate some dairy. I spent hours and hours reading the back of labels, trying to eat perfectly all the time. And any minor blip, I would get really annoyed with myself and promise that I was going to do better tomorrow. It was a very stressful way to live. Number 3 was obsession with food labels. And I totally get it. Yes, some food is more nutrient dense than others. And yes, it's probably not good for your teeth to eat too much sugar. But there's definitely a point where it became such an obsession and I was taking it to the extreme. I had 2 mantras: no nasty chemicals and no unpronounceable ingredients. But actually this becomes totally farcical if you look at the chemical composition of something like a banana or a blueberry. And I've actually put a blueberry here so you can see how funny my mantras now seem in hindsight. Spoiler, blueberries are filled with E numbers and unpronounceable words. Number 4 is missing out on social events. Now, I started to miss a lot of social events that revolved around food. At first, what I would do is I would check the menu on a restaurant, or I would call ahead just to find out if there were gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free options on the menu. And I just want to make a caveat here. I do understand that there are people who are lactose intolerant or celiac, and they would have to do that. But my point about this is I had no medical reason to be restricting those foods, and it caused an awful lot of stress. Now, I never actually got to the point where I was bringing my own Tupperware full of food, but I could definitely see if it had carried on unchecked that I would have done that. And also the other thing that I did, someone invited us around to our house and they said, is there anything you can't eat? I was sending them a long list of things. It was actually quite embarrassing. Sorry. So the bottom line is that I have discovered that there's a very fine line between health kick and that tipping over into a full-blown eating disorder. The line between health kick and orthorexia is actually quite blurred. And a lot of the behaviours that I was engaging in were positively praised. I got a lot of positive feedback from friends and family saying things like, oh, you eat so well and you're so disciplined. Now I look back and I think, well, was I disciplined or was I just hiding an eating disorder? The most liberating thing for me was discovering food freedom, an approach of eating that has flexibility, no rigid food rules, and is really about tuning into your body and eating according to your hunger. It's about eating without restriction and eating in a way that focuses both on nourishment, because it's still important to eat in a way that is going to positively impact your long-term health, but also for enjoyment as well. And I think I'd really lost that enjoyment when I was eating. If you would like to find out more about that approach to eating, then you can sign up to my free Food Freedom Masterclass. It looks like this, and the details are in the links below. As always, I've added some resources and some links for you to explore below. And I have 2 books I would love to recommend to you, both of which were real turning points in my relationship with food. So one is called Anti-Diet, and she has a whole chapter all about the wellness diet, which for me was such a massive light bulb moment, thinking, oh my goodness, like I really need to fix my relationship with food. And the other book is called Food Isn't Medicine. Now, this is a wonderful, wonderful book because so much of the time when I was entrenched in my orthorexic phase, I had this idea that food was medicine, that I was doing the best for my health and the health of my family. But actually it ignores things like the social determinants of health and what it does to your mental health as well. Both incredible books, highly, highly recommend. So check out these videos next for more food freedom, health and mindset tips. And if you like my video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and please share this with anyone who you think might need this information as well.